If you're in the world of virtualization, you've probably heard the buzz. There's a huge conversation happening right now, and a lot of folks are looking at their VMware setup and asking, what's next? Well, today we're going to break down one of the most popular answers out there, making the move to Proxmox. Let's get right into the step-by-step.
Here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll get into the why. What's driving this whole shift? Then we'll cover the all-important planning phase. After that, we'll look at the actual import tool, show you how to juice up your new VMs for the best performance, and wrap up with what your day-to-day looks like after you've made the switch.
All right, so let's start at the beginning. Why is this even a thing right now? What is the big motivation that's got everyone talking about leaving VMware?
Well, it pretty much boils down to this one sentence. Since Broadcom's acquisition of VMware, the licensing game has completely changed. And, well, that's caused a massive ripple effect, pushing the entire industry to seriously reevaluate their options and hunt for powerful, more cost-effective alternatives.
And this is the number that's really lighting a fire under people. We're talking about potential license cost increases of 2, 3, even 5 times what they were paying before. That's a kind of sticker shock that makes looking for an alternative less of a nice-to-have and more of an absolute business necessity.
So that brings us to Proxmox. And when you put it head-to-head with vSphere, things get really interesting. You go from a paid proprietary license to a free open-source model with optional support. High availability clustering? It's not an add-on. It's just built right in. Software-defined storage? You get Ceph integrated, no separate vSAN license needed. And backups? It has its own free, robust backup solution. The bottom line is, a lot of the expensive enterprise add-ons in the VMware world are just part of the core Proxmox package.
Okay, let's say you're sold on the idea, and Proxmox is looking pretty good. Now we hit the most critical part of this whole process, the planning. A smooth move is all about good prep work.
I like to think of this as 4 pillars. First pillar, document everything. I mean OS versions, vCPUs, memory, disk sizes. Get it all down. Second, map your network. You got to know exactly how your vSphere switches are going to translate to Proxmox Linux bridges. Third, plan the storage. Figure out where your VMFS and NFS data stores are going to live in the new world of ZFS or Ceph. And finally, pillar 4, group your dependencies. If you have an app that uses a web server and a database server, for goodness sake, move them together.
Now, here's a huge pro tip, and trust me, this one will save you a world of headaches. Before you even think about moving a VM, clean it up. Uninstalling VMware tools while it's still happily running on ESXi is so much easier than trying to rip it out later. It gets rid of all those old VMware-specific drivers and just prevents a ton of weird issues down the line. Okay, our plan is solid. Now it's time for the main event. Let's look at the awesome tool Proxmox has built right in that makes this whole process way more straightforward than you might think.
And this is the real game changer, the Proxmox Import Wizard. It's a newer feature, and it is an official, fully integrated way to just pull your virtual machines straight from an ESXi host into Proxmox. Before this, things were, let's just say, a lot more manual. This tool really simplifies the entire migration.
And you won't believe how easy they've made it. Seriously, it's a 4-step dance. In Proxmox, you just add your ESXi host as a storage source. Then, you browse that source, find the VM you want to bring over, and an import button just magically appears. You click it, tell it where to put the disk and what network to use, and then you hit import one more time. That's it. The process is off and running.
Now, as great as the wizard is, it's not pure magic. There are a few gotchas you need to be aware of. It can't pull directly from vSAN, so you'll have to move those VMs to a different data store first. If your VM has snapshots, get rid of them, or the import will be really slow. Encrypted disks are a no-go. And please, if you're moving a bunch of VMs, do them one by one. Don't try to run 10 at once, you'll just overload the ESXi host.
Which brings me to maybe the single most important piece of advice here. Do not make your mission-critical database server your first test subject. Start with something small and unimportant. A dev server, a test box, anything. Use it to walk through the entire process from start to finish. This is how you spot any weird issues and get comfortable with the process before you touch anything that actually matters.
So the import is done. Your VM is alive and kicking on Proxmox. Awesome. But wait, don't walk away just yet. Our job isn't quite finished. Now we need to optimize that VM so it runs at its absolute best in its new home.
First things first, we got to swap out the utilities. We already got rid of VMware tools, right? Now, inside the VM, you need to install something called the QEMU guest agent.
Honestly, the easiest way to think about it is as the VMware tools for Proxmox. It's the little piece of software that lets the Proxmox host and the guest VM communicate properly for things like clean shutdowns and backups.
Okay, now for the real performance magic, we need to talk about VirtIO drivers. Think of it like this. Instead of making the VM pretend it has a regular physical network card, VirtIO drivers are special drivers that know they're in a virtual environment. They speak the language of virtualization directly. This creates a super fast shortcut for your network and disk traffic, and it is an absolute must-do for getting the best performance.
So here's your post-flight checklist for every single VM you move. 1. Install the QEMU guest agent. 2. Don't forget to actually enable it in the VM's hardware settings in Proxmox. 3. Fire it up and check the basics: networking, DNS, time. 4. Compare its performance to that baseline you took earlier. And one last little tip for Windows users. For the absolute best disk speeds, switch that boot disk controller over to VirtIO SCI Single.
We did it! We've moved a VM, we've optimized it, it's running great. So let's zoom out now and talk about the bigger picture. What does life actually look like managing a Proxmox environment day in and day out?
This is usually the first question that comes up in a business setting, right? It's the one that keeps IT managers up at night. We love that it's open source, we love the cost savings, but who do we call at 3 a.m. when something critical breaks?
And the good news is Proxmox has a fantastic answer. While the software itself is free, you can buy support subscriptions directly from the people who make it. These plans get you access to their super stable enterprise software repository and, more importantly, a phone number to call and tickets to file with their support engineers. This right here is the enterprise safety blanket that businesses need.
And what about protecting your data? Well, you're in for a treat. Proxmox comes with its own incredible free backup solution called Proxmox Backup Server. It does deduplication, crazy fast incremental backups. It's really powerful. But if you need more, the ecosystem is there. You can easily integrate third-party tools for advanced stuff like immutable cloud backups to protect you from ransomware.
And finally, let's talk about the most important part: the people. Your team are probably VMware wizards, but Proxmox is a new beast. A successful project absolutely depends on giving them time to learn. Set up a lab, let them play with it, break it, and fix it before you ever touch a production system. It's an investment that will pay off big time.
So there you have it. We've seen the clear financial reasons to make a move, we've walked through a clear migration path with some amazing built-in tools, and we know there's a solid support system on the other side. The path is no longer a mystery. Which really just leaves one big question for you to think about. Is an open source hypervisor the right next step for your infrastructure?